Hi everybody, welcome back to the Color Gemstone Academy. I am your instructor, Paul Deasy, and this is my YouTube channel, Paul Deasy Gemstones. Now this week's lesson is one of my favorite gemstones. In fact, it's fast climbing up the list of my favorite gemstones because it is such an incredible opportunity to get a phenomenal gemstone and to get one at an affordable price. Now, first of all, what is this lesson about? It's called Labradorite. And it is a phenomenal gemstone. For those of you that have, maybe you're watching this for the first time, you can go back to the playlist and I have an entire lesson on what a phenomenal gemstone is. But in a nutshell, it is a gem that exhibits a specific optical phenomenon. And this one happens to be called labradorescence. Now, if you were looking at rough and you happen to be in the mines where this comes from, and I'll cover that in a minute, you might think, well, there's really not much to it. I can see there's something going on. Look how this baby polishes up. Like, are you kidding me? Look at that flash, look at that fire, look at that brilliance. Now, the thing about phenomenal gemstones is generally they're kind of small and very expensive on a price per carat basis. Things like alexandrite, which is a color change stone, or opals, which is a play of color stone, or a star sapphire or a star ruby. Those are all examples of a specific phenomenal gemstone. What I love about this one, it is relatively affordable, and it really gives you a spectacular optical phenomenon when you can see it. And you can get it in bigger sizes for very affordable prices. So first, as you know, I like to give you a little bit of what I call the vital statistics of this gemstone. For example, what is the chemical composition of this? Well, it is a sodium, calcium, let me try that again. It is a sodium, calcium, aluminosilicate. Now, I know that's a mouthful, but that's how they identify what this stone is. And it is actually from a family of gemstones called a feldspar. The crystal structure is described as triclinic. The hardness on the Mohs scale of hardness is between a 6 and 6.5 on the Mohs scale. The toughness is rated as fair. Now remember, hardness, the ability to withstand scratching; toughness, the ability to withstand breaking and chipping and fracturing altogether. The refractive index, which measures the sparkle of the stone, is between 1.56 and 1.57. And the specific gravity, which talks about the heft of the stone, which this one's kind of pretty heavy, is 2.7 on its specific gravity. Now, the other way that we rate a stone is on its stability. That means how does it react to light, heat, and chemicals? Well, this is stable as far as light is concerned, so exposure to sunlight isn't going to change the stone whatsoever. Heat, it is also considered stable, so it's not like if you heat labradorite, it's going to change the look of the stone, so you're pretty good there. As far as chemicals, like most of the gemstones I talk about, avoid contact with acids, and that's going to give you a pretty good rundown on the durability, the overall durability of the stone. Now, the phenomenon of this actually came from the gemstone itself, because it is the only gemstone that exhibits this phenomenon called labradorescence. And I showed you that on this stone very, very early on in this lesson. I also have some other examples of that labradorescence. Sometimes you can find different colors. Sometimes you can see little shapes in there. This one I think is the one that I call my shark. Looks like a ghost of it. Yeah, you can just see that in there. Ghost of a shark kind of coming right there, coming through there. Here's my cross. So that's an example of the labradorescence. Now, it's a very specific phenomenon. So if you think about the labradorescence and you think of the labradorite stone, it has these tiny little layers of the material at different angles, and then it's returning and reflecting that light back to the eye in those different colors because of that selective absorption with the stone. And as it moves, you're going to see that color shifting, almost like what you see in an opal. In fact, That labradorescence, again, it got its name from the stone, which is labradorite, which got its name from where it was first discovered, which was Labrador, which is in Nova Scotia in Canada. But it is a unique optical phenomenon. Now, they sometimes give the name of this phenomenon that you're seeing. Sometimes people refer to that as Schiller, and Schiller comes from a German word, which means play of color or glitter. So it's going to give you a kind of a similar play of color of an opal, but at a fraction of the cost of an opal. Sources. Now, where has this been found? Well, it's been found in many places around the earth, but there are three sources that are the most important. But let me go through all of them first. It has been discovered in Labrador, Canada, Nova Scotia, as I mentioned to you, India, Russia, Norway, and Madagascar. Now, the most important sources of all of those that I just mentioned to you are Labrador, Finland, and Madagascar. So let's start where it all began, and that would be in a place called Ford Harbor in St. Paul's Island. Ironic that it's St. Paul's Island when I love this gemstone so much. But if you go to Ford's Harbor, St. Paul Island in Nova Scotia, which is Labrador, Canada, and that's how it got the name Labradorite. And you're going to see on a map, you're not going to see the mining per se, but you're going to see that it is an island and it's very far up north, very, very cold. And in these harbors, you could see the face of the stones where it was exposed, and when the sunlight hit it, they knew that they were onto something. So that's the map showing you where it is located. Now, the native people believed that it was created from frozen fire. So again, you're in the north where it's very, very cold. And they had a phenomenon that you see when you're in the northern hemisphere, very, very far north, something called the aurora borealis, which you might know as the northern lights. And they thought that that frozen fire was a result of the aurora borealis, and that's how it created this incredible gemstone called labradorite. Now, as far as folklore and legends, yes, that it was frozen fire, but it's also thought to be a stone that is your link to the ethereal or the spiritual world rather than what's right in front of you on this world. And that is pretty much all the information you need to know from the Labrador section of where this stone comes from. The next one's equally interesting, and it is about where it was mined in Finland. Okay, so now we find ourselves in Finland, where labradorite was first discovered in 1941, and they began mining it in earnest in the 1950s. Now, it was discovered in a place called, and I'm probably butchering this word, Yalama, Finland. They started to mine it in the mid-1950s. Now, they have a special name for it there, and they call it spectrolite. Now, the question is spectrolite different than labradorite? Well, the short answer is no. Everybody that has mining in their country wants to be able to say or think that theirs is absolutely the best. Like if you get a sapphire and you got it from Thailand, or if you got the Burmese rubies, that was the most important thing. No, everybody likes to think theirs is the best. Now, a lot of experts would argue that the spectrolite, which is what they named it, coming from Finland, is superior to other forms of labradorite that are mined in either Canada or Madagascar or Russia or the other places that I told you about. So, like any other phenomenal gemstone, your price is going to be dependent upon how many play of colors do you see? How saturated is the stone with that phenomenon? But how did it earn the right to give it a different name? Well, there is, again, this is another name I'm probably going to butcher, but there was a Dr. Arni Laitakari, who was a director of geological survey in Finland. And I guess that if you have a gem discovered in your country, you can call it anything that you want, even if it's part of the feldspar group, even if it really is labradorite. They decided to name it spectrolite, so only the labradorite that comes from Finland is supposed to be called the spectrolite. And you're going to see not only on that map of Finland where you see the little red dot where the mining area is located, but you're also going to see some examples of that beautiful spectrolite. And you can see there's really quite a saturation of a lot of different colors, more than mainly what I see from Madagascar these days, which is more the purples and the greens and the yellows. But that's the spectrolite that comes from Finland. But now we're going to get to something that I think is one of the most important gem discoveries in a long, long time. Just like I told you with the Ethiopian opal, when they discovered the crystal opal from Ethiopia, that was a game changer in the opal business as far as price and availability was concerned. Well, the same is really true of what's going on with Madagascar. Now, where is Madagascar? It is an island in the Indian Ocean that is just off the coast of Africa, right next to where Mozambique in the continent of Africa is. And Madagascar does produce a lot of different gems. But in the 1990s was when they figured they first discovered that it had some large deposits. And this is an example of something that comes from Madagascar. And that, I mean, just that is play of color. But let's make noise when I put this down. They didn't really begin mining it, like a commercial mining interest started around, I want to say it was 2003. What I think is so significant about this is, and I'm going to show you a little bit of the mining. You can see the mining area is huge, and you see these big, big, big blocks of this feldspar that is the labradorite. And just the sheer volume that they are producing means that I can bring you some pretty darn good, phenomenal labradorite at really, really great prices. It is, again, quickly moving in on my favorites of all gemstones. You know how much I love the opal, you know how much I love the peridot, you know how much I love the garnet. But labradorite is to me one of those really hidden gems in the rough that you can get a great looking gemstone and not get broke trying to do that. Well, that's going to conclude my lesson on labradorite, and I hope that you enjoyed it. If you are new to us, if you look down there, there's a subscribe button. If you hit that, that will be a great help to me. And I will see you all next week when we have a new gemstone to discuss. Thanks for watching.